Let's take a look at that top 25 preseason list, and it begins, of course, with Alabama, ranked number 1 for the 3rd straight year, guys. It's actually the 2nd time that that's ever happened, that a team has gone 1-1-1. It was Oklahoma back in the 1980s. You see Clemson there, you see Georgia there, you see Wisconsin there. Let's talk about this. Should Alabama be the number 1 team in the country headed into the college football season? Greg?
No, they should not.
What?
Alabama is the reigning national champion, and they deserve all the credit in the world for the program that Nick Saban's built and the consistency they've had over the last decade and change. But Clemson returns more pieces. They return more championship caliber defensive pieces. Alabama is returning, some really good players, and they have a quarterback conundrum that they're trying to figure out, some really good offensive weapons in the offensive line for the most part. But on defense, there's a lot of holes in the secondary most notably, and they have some question marks at linebacker and along the defensive front. Alabama's supremely talented, but Clemson has more known commodities heading into the 2018 season.
You know, Greg, I respect you, right? As an Alabama alum, I truly respect you for going so far out of your way to say Alabama shouldn't be number 1. Clearly, they should be the number 1 team. Like, it's not even a question. They should be the number 1 team. Why? Because, first off, they're Alabama. What does that mean? Until proven otherwise, they're the most dominant college football program in the planet, until we know otherwise. Yes, it's a new year, it's a new season, but until September 1st starts cracking and until pads start popping, Alabama's still the top dog. I think Clemson will be the better team at the end of the season, but right now, it's Alabama.
Emmanuel, you have missed the opening sentence of Nick Saban's SEC Media Days every year. And what does he say? This isn't last year. Come on.
Yeah.
This isn't last year. This is this year. We have a different team. And listen, I agree with Greg. Clemson has more definitives, all right, more production coming back at key spots. And in my opinion, the schedule weighs out much better for Clemson. And I know that doesn't really have anything to do with who should be number 1, who should be number 2. But the path to get to where both teams want to get to, I think is going to be smoother paved road for the Clemson Tigers. And right now, this might be the first time, fellas, and Jen, that we find a team in major college football that is as deep, if not deeper, than the Alabama Crimson Tide.
All right, but if you continue looking down that list, guys, you've got Wisconsin at number 4, and I know that was raising a lot of eyebrows to fans, at least in the Twitter sphere. Emmanuel, I'll start with you. Surprised that Wisconsin is getting so much preseason love?
I'm not surprised. Again, this is one of those things where Wisconsin deserves the love based off what they accomplished last year. I do not think Wisconsin is the 4th best team in college football, by no means. But again, Wisconsin, they did a lot last year, and they're returning a lot of pieces, returning the quarterback, returning the running back. That means something. So Wisconsin, I'm not mad at them for being number 4, but if you ask me, they're not the 4th best team in college football.
I don't think they're the 4th best team in college football either, but they're the one team in college football that comes into every single season. You know exactly what they're going to do, and you still can't stop it.
Still can't stop it.
They are so talented. They are so physical. They have a brand of football that most don't see very often week in and week out. And while I don't think Alex Hornibrook's good enough for them to make a true championship run, that's not what they do to make a living. So their bread and butter is who they are, and I think it's why so many people have a hard time beating Wisconsin, but they're not the top 4 team in the country.
If you go based on most recent performance, Wisconsin's certainly up there with everybody with the way they manhandled Miami in the Orange Bowl. But they're at number 4 for one reason, guys, because Ohio State's not. There are questions around Urban Meyer. Will he be the head coach of the Buckeyes? Will he be on the sideline for the entire regular season this year? And we don't know the answers to those questions based on the information that we have. That's why Wisconsin's at number 4. The Big Ten East is muddled. You have 4 teams that are all fantastic. Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State all could make a very legitimate argument that they're all playoff contenders. What do you have in the West? A whole bunch of average, and then Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a byproduct of the cloud that surrounds Ohio State and the uncertainty that surrounds the Big Ten East as a whole.
So Greg McIlroy is saying that Urban Meyer's situation is affecting where Ohio State is falling and thus affecting where Wisconsin is falling. Do you agree with that, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, G, but my thing is just because Ohio State is falling, I don't think you have to replace them with another Big Ten team. Wisconsin clearly not that number 4 overall team, but in my opinion, if you want to talk about potential, I like Michigan State. I like Penn State more than I like Wisconsin if we are going to replace that Ohio State team with another Big Ten team. But like you just alluded to, they trounced Miami. That's what we've seen most recently. And remember, nobody gave Wisconsin a chance last year, and they really surprised all of us. It's just a preseason poll. For now, I'll let it slide.
I know that there's a loss of Saquon Barkley for Penn State, but I think Penn State is more dynamic on offense than Wisconsin is. I think they're starting to develop that depth on the defensive side of the football. Now, if you look down the middle alley of that defense, they've got to replace some components at the 2 nose guard spots, the linebacker spots, the back-end returns. I like their edge guys, and they have Trace McSorley. And Trace McSorley, in my opinion, is 5 times the player that Alex Hornibrook is right now in terms of what he brings to Penn State. I would have Penn State. If we're going to put somebody at 4 ahead of Ohio State, if we're going to say Urban Meyer's out, I put Penn State there.
Well, obviously you're saying that McSorley gets the nod over Hornibrook, but I would argue that Jonathan Taylor gets the nod over whatever Penn State is trotting out there at the running back position going forward, and we'll just see how that shakes out when it comes to the standings in the Big Ten.